With the increase of Oshinoko's popularity thanks to the anime, I feel like it's now the perfect time to talk about one of the most impactful arcs that happened in Oshinoko. And this is the dating reality show arc, an arc that most likely is going to get adapted in the anime very soon, but for now I simply want to talk about it because this is an arc that I haven't forgotten even after reading it. But what makes this arc very more impactful and very unforgettable is the fact that this arc was heavily influenced by an actual case that happened in Japan, this being the case of Hanakumara. Now, I know some people are going to say that this is probably just a huge coincidence and that these two aren't related. However, after doing extensive research on this case and rereading the reality TV show arc of Oshinoko, there were just too many similarities that it was hard to believe that this was all just a coincidence. And it became very clear that the author of Oshinoko, Akasaka, most likely wrote the arc with the case in mind. But before we continue any further, I have to give some major warnings, as I am going to talk about a lot of sensitive subjects that maybe a few people don't want to listen to. So yeah, just putting that out there before we begin, as I know there's going to be some people who are going to not want to listen to these very sensitive subjects, and that's perfectly fine. So with that out of the way, let's just begin. The Hanakumara case is a very tragic story, as it shows us how cruel the internet can be. Hana was only 22 years old when this all happened. She was a professional Japanese wrestler who was making a name for herself, but that was not the only thing she did. While yes, her profession was wrestling, she was also doing acting as well. She was a cast member on the Fuji Television and Netflix reality television series known as Terrace House. To keep it very simple as to what this reality TV show is all about, it's basically a group of people all living in one house, and obviously they're supposed to interact and get to know each other, etc. Nothing too crazy, as you probably have seen it a million times in other reality TV shows that have very similar premises as well. But anyways, this was a series that Hana was involved in. And in the beginning, everything seemed fine. That was until the Terrace House controversy happened. Episode 38, titled The Case of the Costume Incident, premiered on Netflix on March 31st, 2020, and then it would later be on TV on May 18th, 2020. In this episode, there was a scene in which Hana was clearly upset about something, and that something was the fact someone ruined her wrestling costume when they put it in the laundry. She went on a verbal tirade to the person who did this being Kobayashi Kai, in which it ended by her smacking his hat off his head and storming upstairs. After this episode aired, a lot of people went online to talk about the episode, in which they proceeded to criticize Hana over her verbal tirade that she threw to the other person, this being once again Kobayashi Kai. And it wasn't just the Japanese audience that was upset over this. Even international fans were also criticizing Hana over this. However, it would be later revealed that Hana actually talked to a friend about this scene and stated that this was actually staged and that this was something the producers wanted to happen, and that she felt really bad about it since that was something that she would never do. But at the time, no one knew about this. No one knew that this was all completely staged. And to make things worse, people went from criticizing Hana to just outright insulting her, calling her a bunch of names, making fun of her appearance, and some wanting Hana to no longer be in this world. This was clearly too much for Hana, and as a result, before her tragic death, she made a lot of very concerning posts on her social media. Some of these posts included Hana showing photos that you can slightly see visible self-harm marks. Now of course, I'm not going to show these pictures because I don't want to get in trouble on YouTube. Then in a deleted tweet, she stated how she was being cyberbullied. Then, on May 22nd, Hana posted a picture with her and her cat, in which in the post, she tells her cat to live a long and healthy life, and then says goodbye. It was very clear that after seeing these posts, many of her fans were starting to grow concerned, which led to them making comments telling Hana not to do anything drastic. She would then leave a message to her family, saying that she's sorry and that she gives thanks to them for giving birth to her. And after leaving this message, she would proceed by taking her own life by releasing toxic gas and putting a plastic bag on her head. Immediately after this all happened, many people shared their condolences, and her story wasn't only talked about in Japan but also internationally. Many other people shared their condolences as well. It was also reported that many of the accounts that were cyberbullying Hana either deleted their tweets and or deleted their entire accounts in general. It was also later discovered, according to New York Times, after doing interviews with the cast members of Terrace House, that some of the things that happened in the series was all completely staged, and how they were pressured by the producers to act and behave a certain way in order to fit the role that the producers wanted to see. And that's the tragic story of Hanakumara. an innocent person who sadly became a victim of cyberbullying and being ridiculed on the internet just for simply a scene that many people were overreacting, and it wasn't really such a big deal. But this once again just shows us just how cruel the internet can be, and how there's always going to be terrible people on the internet, always going to say terrible things no matter what. Now, I didn't go into every little detail about this case. However, that being said, if you do want a full-on detail of this case of Hanakumara, I highly recommend you watch this video by this YouTuber named Dire Trip, in which he goes into more detail about this case and even talks about more about the aftermath after this whole incident happened. I'll leave a link down below if you are interested in it. Now, after hearing this case, you still may be wondering, what does this have to do with Oshi no Ko's reality TV show arc? Not to worry, because I'm about to explain it right now. So the reality TV show arc of Oshi no Ko is about how Aqua is about to be in a reality TV show that's called My Love with a Star, also known as Love Now. And in this arc, Aqua is very quick to know what truly happens behind the scenes in a reality TV show, whether it's scenes taken out of context, whether it's producers wanting to create drama for the sake of creating drama, and obviously many people having to behave and act a certain way in order to fit the role that the producer wants to see. Something that is once again not far from reality, as these are things that could also happen in the real world. And it was also during the same arc that we are introduced to Akane Kurokawa, who is also part of this reality TV show, but after being pressured by her agency to stand out, this leads to Akane trying to do whatever it takes in order to get the spotlight on this show. However, things don't go as planned, as Akane trying to have the spotlight accidentally injures one of the other cast members, but even after that, the other cast member isn't even mad at her and doesn't hate her because she knows that Akane didn't do it on purpose and it was just all a complete accident. But even though these two aren't enemies, the producers of the show took advantage of this incident and decided to post this on TV, knowing full well that this is going to get a lot of people talking. And well, it did have a lot of people talking. But sadly, Akane became the victim of ridicule by people online, calling her a bunch of names, telling her a bunch of insults, even people going as far as to trying to find anything about her personal life that was embarrassing to post it to the public. And as time went by, this was clearly too much for Akane, as no matter what she did, the hate that she was receiving from people online wasn't going away, and clearly she was reaching her breaking point. And that's what ultimately would happen, as Akane had finally reached her breaking point. One day, when there was a storm, Akane was walking through a bridge when suddenly she thought about jumping from the bridge, because at this point she was just tired of everything. She was tired of being ridiculed, she was tired of people just going after her, she was just simply tired of life, and she clearly was in so much pain and distress over everything that happened. She thought that that was the only solution to her problem, and she was about to do it, but someone actually saved her from doing that, and that is none other than Aqua, who told her that she isn't alone and that what she was doing was something that was not the solution to the problem. And he actually does that. He tries to solve the problem that Akane has been dealing with all this time, and the way he does it is by finding out a loophole in which he actually makes sure that the world knows what's actually going on behind the scenes, and that is the fact that everyone is getting along and that no one hates each other in the show. Obviously, this was something very risky, as Aqua said, because he had to make sure that he didn't breach the contract that he signed. And of course, with that pretty much ends the whole situation with Akane, as people started to realize that basically no one hated each other in the show, and that not everything that happens in the reality TV show isn't always the real thing. In some cases, some things are just over exaggerated, or they're just fabricated in order to create drama. And that's pretty much the end of the reality TV show arc of Oshi no Ko. And after learning about this arc, you can clearly see why so many people, after finding out about the case of Hanakumara, they realized that this arc was heavily influenced by that case, and it's very clear that the author wanted to spread the message of just how cruel the internet can be and what actually happens in a reality TV show, and that not everything is always real. It's still to this day very tragic what happened to Hanakumara. She was still very young, like I said. She was only 22 years old when this all happened, so she still had a full life ahead of her, but sadly, due to the immense ridicule that she received by the people on the internet, she simply thought that doing what she did was the only solution to her problem. But hopefully she's resting in peace now, and hopefully she's at a better place. I give my condolences to the friends and family of Hanakumara, because I can only imagine the pain that they're going through as a result of losing someone that they deeply cared about. So with that, I'm just going to end the video like that. Rest in peace, Hanakumara.